Welcome to another recap for my game Omnia Regna. This is Raimu, and I'm going over what I did in March 2020. Now, I have a lot of notes because I have been trying to keep up this month, making weekly progress, and rather than going over old VODs and voicing over it, each week at the end I've actually recorded a little bit of a video to cover each week. Overall, the month was about half and half, I would say, between under-the-hood changes that aren't visible to players. So a lot of bug fixing, a lot of removing holes in the game, for example, being able to duplicate items, that kind of thing. And then the other half of the time, visible changes to the game, including a new quest system, being able to mouse over your items and see what they are. And then, I haven't released this yet, the addition of new character attributes and the assignment of skill points when you gain experience points and levels. So let's go over week to week and see how it went. In the first week of March, I began with reviewing the tickets in my game for reporting issues and suggestions, and filed any missing ones in the GitHub. I also worked on adding this GitHub link here, so as the admin, I can fill in a GitHub link that normal players can actually click on. Also, I worked on making links clickable in details for tickets, and in the description, I worked on cleaning that up a bit. And later on in the week, I worked on this tile set panel. So in the past, there were buttons to update every single line here. Now there's just a global update button here. So if we make changes like removing a tile set, going into an existing one and changing something, maybe adding a tile here, maybe making it point to something else. Now if we have a reset button at the tile level, and we also have a reset button at the tile sets level. And the main improvement here is that we can go back and undo things, and we can also wait until we're completely done updating things to actually hit the update button. Because the update button is pretty expensive in the game. It tells every client about all of the tile set information. Everything is redrawn, so I wanted to minimize the number of times that was happening. So later in the week, I worked on item stack splitting and moving the code that handles item movement from one piece of the server to the other. And this will both enable this new feature of stack splitting as well as fix problems with items being duplicated. Currently, the item handling code moved to the executor handles just splitting stacks, but eventually it's going to handle all item movement to avoid race conditions and such. The code is really messy, and I'll have to work on refactoring it. The way we describe item slots and moving items to and from different slots is a little bit complicated, and I plan to improve upon that. But that's pretty much it for the first week of March. In the second week of March, I didn't do a whole lot of visible changes to the game, but I did have a chance to go through and work on some issues in the game engine. So one thing I'm still not finished, but I made significant progress on, was removing the assumption in the game about the graphic tile identifiers being tied to the index of the tile in the tile set. So here, for example, I am now able to make a tile set with two different tiles that are having identifiers that have nothing to do with the index. So it's not completely finished. There are still some bugs, but worked on removing that assumption. The other thing I worked on was migrating and refactoring item management code. So for example, moving items around in a container or splitting them. That used to be computed in one part of the game, which was not synchronized to the actual execution of game commands. And so it was possible to have glitches, duplications of references of items. And so I moved a lot of that code into what's called the executor component of the server, where all of the changes are synchronized, so there are no more chances for item glitches unless we have a bug somewhere. I also took the opportunity to refactor both that code and the code that tests it, so now tests are much easier to understand. For example, this test is taking an item in a character's inventory, a sword here, and equipping it in an equipment slot. And the test all fits within one page, and it's much easier to read than before, where it was pages and pages. So that's about it for the second week. In the third week of March, I worked on changes both visible and not so visible in the game. I worked first on having the Twitch API part of the game obey Twitch rate limits. Also fixed a bunch of different bugs, varying from annoying things like not being able to link an account to Twitch and then log in through Twitch. So there's a little bit of an issue with storing Twitch IDs, to medium-sized issues like the server not properly cleaning up the entity component system on logout, to more serious ones like it's possible to hang the server if your account didn't have a password and you tried to log in with one. It would actually hang the server. So more visible changes, though, worked on this quest system, which I'm going to demonstrate right here. So there's now a quest giver NPC in town. Her name is Jill. She hands out quests. I can pick up the quest to slay 10 slimes. And now I'm going to go and slay 10 slimes in the sewer to show you how that works. I might jump forward since it might take me a while to get 10 slimes, but we'll see. Fighting the slimes here. Hopefully they don't kill me. See, there it says I made progress on my quest, 1 out of 10. I shouldn't try to get ganged up on here. At this point I might fast forward so you don't have to watch me actually get all the quest credit. Alright, I got 9 out of 10. This should be the last one that I need. 10 out of 10, I finished the quest. Now to go turn it in. So, as you can see, every time I make progress on the quest, it puts a chat message saying I make progress in the quest. And as I come back here to the quest giver, talk to the quest giver, say quest, spell it correctly, and I got my quest reward. And if I wanted to, I could go on the quest a second time. Only this time, the reward will be different. So there were changes in how the dialogue system worked to accomplish this. In order to prevent race conditions between the dialogue system and the inventory system, I had to actually add a new kind of dialogue state, which is driven by scripts. So we have a script in there that does a check to make sure that you can accept the quest reward. And then if you can, then it feeds back into the dialogue system and actually does it and gives you the correct response from the NPC. Otherwise, it gives you a different one. So there's going to be more and more refinement, but the proof of concept is in there. We already had some viewers actually go on this quest repeatedly. I think someone got the quest completed 15 times or something like that. So right now, it's just a test, of course. And there are going to be more quests and more elaborate quests. But this is the first step to actually adding story content that integrated with the game mechanics. And in the 4th week of March, I worked first on making sure that all item transactions in my game are atomic, meaning that, like any kind of transaction should, it's either all or nothing, so there's no race conditions between item transactions. For example, dropping an item, picking one up, and then dropping the same one that you originally were starting to drop, and then ending up having 2 copies of an item, so we try to make sure all of that doesn't happen in the game. That was all behind the scenes pretty much, because if we do our work correctly, then the player doesn't notice anything. The rest of the week I worked on 2 major visible changes to the game. One was item tooltips. So now if you put your mouse over an item in your inventory or in your equipment, it shows information about that item. And the other thing I worked on was adding character attributes to the game, along with steps towards making it possible for characters to progress. So, for example, you might be given skill points to distribute for your character's attributes based on training your character to the next level. So, worked on this user interface here where you can distribute points. And as you can see there, it's not a linear scale, so there are some combinations of points you can distribute based off of what your ability scores are. The higher a stat is, the more points it takes to increase it. So there's a script behind the scenes that controls that, and some back and forth between the server and the client to do that. But in the end, you can increase your character's abilities every time you gain a level, which we're going to add soon. So that's it for the 4th week of March. And that's about it for the month of March of 2020. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I would appreciate it if you came by and said hi to me live on my stream. My name's Rymu8354. You can see me on twitch.tv/Rymu8354 pretty much every weekday except for Thursdays. And I will be making more progress on the game as we go along month to month. And hope you find these videos helpful to catch up if you haven't been able to see my stream. I'll be back next time for the April 2020 wrap-up. Hopefully, by then I'll have a lot more cool things to show you. See you then. Bye.